Okay, so let's go through the assignment first. This is writing from pictures. And then after we've gone through how to do this assignment, we're going to go through all of the assignment guidelines, and you guys are actually going to start this assignment in class today. So that'll be kind of cool. So let me hide this thing really quick. How do I do that? Hide floating meeting controls. There we go. Now it won't be distracting. Jack, so it's not a Zoom meeting. I don't have anybody tuning in. I'm recording it because we have so many people out that I think it will be helpful for them at home to be able to watch and do the lesson with us. So hopefully I don't make any Zoom mistakes like I have in the past, but pretty experienced with Zoom now, so we'll see. Okay, so the important thing to remember, like I said before, we are providing an event description. It's a little bit different from a story. You can think of it as a story. It's really just kind of semantics. It doesn't matter a whole lot, but it might help you to think of it as an event description. The reason we talk about it in that way is because a story has a very clear beginning, middle, and end, right? Like exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and end. This is not really that. What we're doing is we're looking at a series of 3 pictures, and we're going to be describing what's happening in those pictures, what's happening around those pictures, before the pictures, maybe after the last picture, but it's just a little bit different. So just keep that in mind as we talk through the assignment. Okay. So if you guys want to flip open to that first, or not the first page, it's actually a couple in, you can just kind of get a visual for the pictures that you're going to be looking at. It's a guy in a chair next to a lamp, a guy in a chair next to a melting lamp, and an empty chair with a melted lamp, or who knows, maybe it's something different. You get to decide because it's going to be your event description. So when you're thinking about how to write this, this project, you're going to go through these questions as you look at these pictures, okay? These questions are designed to just kind of help you come up with ideas. Because when we write an expository essay, like say you're writing an essay about elephants. I mean, I think I used that example before. You can look up information about elephants. You might decide you want to write about elephants' diets, elephant habitats, and maybe elephant toothpaste. Absolutely. So those might be your topics that you address in your body paragraph, and you could go find information on that. When you're writing an event description from pictures, you have to come up with all that information from your brain, okay? So you need to ask these questions to help you generate ideas. So there are questions like, who's in the picture? What, where is this person? What does he or she think or say? What does he or she feel? What do they do? Why? How? What happened before what we see what's going on? What is happening outside of the picture? Are they looking at anything? What is happening after? So things like that. And these questions are, well, some of these questions are on that first page of your packet. So these, I want you guys to go back to these when you're starting the keyword outline to think through these things. Okay, so what we're going to do, we are going to start by keyword outlining our story, okay? We're going to keyword outline all 3 paragraphs. This is a 3-paragraph description or essay. And the topic sentence is going to be the central fact, okay? So that's what you're looking at the picture. What is the central fact of that picture? And I'll demonstrate this in just a minute. Then you're going to fill up the paragraph with other details, like what do they need or want? What do they think? What are they saying and doing? And then finally, why is there a 2? There shouldn't be a 2 right here. That should be a 1. And then finally, you would include a clincher. You would do the same thing for paragraph 2. You'd keyword outline the central fact. That's your topic sentence. And then your detail sentences. What is this person doing or saying? Ask yourself those questions that we have in the front of the packet to come up with ideas. And then finish the paragraph with a clincher. Same thing for paragraph 3. Okay, so we are going to do this, and I'm going to demonstrate to you my thought process. And you're going to see how we're going to go from keyword outline to like story. So it's the keyword outlining in this project is a really important process. So just remind me really quick, guys, what are our guidelines for keyword outlining? Ethan? Okay, 3 words, 3 symbols, maybe 3 abbreviations. Actually, you have to restrict it to 3 words, but if you want more symbols and abbreviations, you can do that on this story, okay? So here's our first picture, all right? Here's our second picture. And here's our third picture. Okay, so you guys have it? All right, so I've already got my keyword outline, but I'm gonna demonstrate for you. Okay, so my central fact is my topic sentence. So I'm looking at this picture and I'm asking myself, what is going on here? Clearly there's a flag on a flagpole. There are birds in the sky. There are clouds. It looks like a beautiful day. I don't know, where could this flag be? Where do you think it could be? Jackson? I don't know. It could be like, it could be anywhere. It could be at a school. It could be at a post office. It could be at an army base. I don't know. Owen, what do you think? It could be right outside Liberty Common School. What do you think, Cora? It could be flying in the wind with the pole. Is that what you said? It could be. And if it were your story, you could say that. I'm going to say that I'm gonna imagine that it is a very windy morning on an army base. Okay. Maybe not windy yet. It's a gorgeous morning on an army base. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to say army base. This is my topic sentence. This is the central fact of the picture. The central fact is that it is a beautiful morning. And it's maybe slightly windy. Okay, what are my details? Who's in the story? Who do we see in the story right now? Amelia. 2 birds in flight. What's happening outside the picture? What might be happening on the ground at the base of the pole? Tristan? Soldiers training. Maybe soldiers training. Absolutely. Who else might be down there? Charlotte? Okay, could be soldiers reciting the pledge. I'm thinking critters right now. Since I'm going to talk about birds, I'm also going to talk about some chipmunks. So I'm imagining there might be some chipmunks frolicking around the base of the pole. So I'm going to say birds drifting in the breeze. Chipmunks. I'm going to break the rules here, you guys, but chipmunks are gathering. No, I'm not. I'm not going to break the rules. I can draw a picture for this. Chipmunks are gathering acorns or nuts. Does that look like an acorn? Yeah. Thank you. Okay. You guys mentioned soldiers. Okay, so let's mention soldiers. Men are marching. Maybe they're practicing their drills. It's not, I know it's just my pen and it's like the weird thing that it just does on its own. I'm not trying to underline it, just, and if I stop and erase it, it'll take like 9 years to get through this PowerPoint. So we're just gonna let it go. All right, so men are marching. The chipmunks are mad because the men are getting in their way. So the chipmunks are scolding them. Let's draw a mad chipmunk. Yeah, angry eyebrows, mad chipmunk. All right, the chipmunks are scolding the men. Obviously, if the men are interrupting nut collecting time, the chipmunks are going to be angry. Okay, so, all right, so let's see. Where are the men? What are the men doing? We said they're marching, but where are they marching? I don't know. What do you think, Charlotte? Okay, yeah, maybe that's the flag. So let's see, or maybe they've stopped and they're standing around the flagpole. Maybe they were doing their drills. So they were marching, they stopped, encircled the flagpole, and then they raised the flag. So this all happened a little bit before, right? Okay, so we're gonna say that. All right, so now I need a clincher. Do you guys remember the next picture? What was starting to happen? Eva? The wind was starting to blow. Okay, so the men raised the flag, but they failed to notice that the wind is picking up. Okay, this is very rough right now, right? That's okay. Okay, paragraph 2. All right, let's go ahead and write down our central fact. Okay, so the flag has been raised. After the flag was raised, a terrible wind began to pick up. Obviously, okay, so terrible wind. I'm gonna treat her as more of just the wind, I think. I'm just gonna treat her as the wind. All right, so after the flag is raised, the wind picks up. What's happening to the flag and the pole, do you think? Andrew? It's like waving, right? And the poles, like the wind is so strong, maybe the pole is shaking. Okay, okay, so the pole, whoops. Pole and the flag are shaking. Whoops. Scary. What's happening with all of the critters we just described? Remember who's in our story so far? We've got chipmunks, we've got birds, we've got men. What is happening with the critters, Tristan?
They are running to seek shelter.
Yes, they run to seek shelter. Okay, so let's do this. I can save some words here, maybe, if I can figure out how to draw a bird.
Just draw like a bee.
Okay, that's pretty good, right? That's pretty good. So the birds and the chipmunks, well, we already have an angry chipmunk face, so we'll just use that. They dashed to their nests.
There's still birds up there.
Well, it's on its way out. The bird is on its way out. Okay, so they dashed to their nest. What's happening with the men? What are the men doing? Charlotte Gates? Okay. Do you think I think they're warning people. They're like, storm, right? They're gonna run away, run away.
Wait, totally not right.
Okay, can you guys, listen, this is kind of funny and silly right now, but can you see what we're doing with our thought process? We're thinking about all of the characters in our story right now. We're looking at the picture and we're talking about what are they doing? What's the result of this wind picking up? Okay. Okay, so the men are freaking out because there's a storm. The wind has picked up. How strong is the wind? Do you think? Very strong? 50 miles an hour strong?
Like if the army people were like big winds and no outside.
100 miles an hour?
Okay.
That's not possible, I don't think. All right. Do you remember the third picture? What was happening with the flag? Do you remember it was like starting to, yeah, Jackson? The stars were flying off the flag. Yeah, Andrew? All right, we'll do 50. Oh yeah, this is so unrealistic.
I know.
Oh my goodness. All right, totally not realistic. Okay.
Welcome to the holy world of creativity.
Yeah. All right. Okay. The wind picked up to 50 miles an hour. It was so strong that the seams of the flag began to rip. Because of the horrendous wind. Let's see, it was too much for the flag to bear. So that's our clincher. All right, paragraph 3. What's happening with the flag right now? Tristan?
The wind stole the flags. I mean, not the flag, the stars.
The stars did what? They fled the flag?
They stole the stars.
Oh, someone stole the stars. Okay. What's happening with is the wind? What about the wind?
Wind died.
The wind died down a little bit, didn't it? It doesn't seem like the wind is quite as strong, maybe. Okay, but let's sequence some of this information. Okay. So the wind, well, let's start with where we ended with, oh, here we go. Okay, let's start with where we ended at the last slide. On the last slide, the last picture, the wind had really picked up. The seams of the flag were starting to rip, and it got so strong that that now we see that the stars are blowing off. So the central fact of this picture to start is that the wind and the rain are battering the flag so much so that the stars, which were pasted on with cheap Walmart glue, I'm just kidding, began to fly off. Fly away. I don't know how to, I'm on my limit, fly away. Okay, we'll just go like that. Ryan.
Did you do a picture for the last one?
We did. Our last one was the wind and the rain or the storm was too much for the flag to bear. Okay, Malachi.
Would it, in such conditions, they would take the flag down, and also flags wouldn't have stars painted.
Let's just,
Especially not in the.
dude, that's a really good point. Super good point. Thank you. But that's totally a tangent. Let's not go there right now. And actually, I'm glad you mentioned that because you're totally right. Like this is not how a flag would have been manufactured. Bring it back. Bring it back, guys. But the point of this is not to second guess that. It's more just to generate ideas. All right. I need your voices off unless I ask you a question and call your name, Solon. Thank you. Okay, so guys, remember, we're running through these mental questions right now. So in this third picture, the stars are flying away. What are our characters doing? What's happening with our birds and our chipmunks and our men? Let's start with the birds and the chipmunks. What are they doing? Ryan?
They're going to their nest.
They went to their nests already. What are they doing from their nests now? Cora, what do you think? Well, they could be starting to sleep or eat. What else could they be doing? Charlotte? Cuddling. They could be cuddling. Maybe they're watching in terror. Because they're watching this scary storm. I forgot I have symbols, don't I? Except every time I draw a symbol, I'm challenged with my drawing capability here. Home chipmunks, angry chipmunk. Okay. They're just watching from their nests. Jordan.
The last one, like Mother Nature there, for the last slide, you could have said like, Mother Nature decided to take the stars with her.
Totally could have done that.
Kind of just like, find stars.
Yep. So from their homes, knees under your desks, please, eyes forward, facing forward. From their homes, the birds and the chipmunks are watching in horror. What else is happening in the sky? Do you think, Aaliyah? Birds, yeah, there could be some birds still left. What about the airplanes? Uh-oh. Natalie, what do you think? Maybe it's starting to rain. It could be, yeah, well, it's been, you know, I think we put that a couple sentences back, like that there is some wind and rain. Let's say the birds and the chipmunks are watching from their safe homes. The flagpole shaking. The airplanes in the sky are shaking. We're expecting some turbulence. Also the airplanes on the ground
Oh,
are shaking.
oh, that wouldn't be terrible.
Like-
That would be dead.
All right, now we got to wrap it up. So what happens at the end? Or maybe even after this picture? Eva,
The wind gets stronger and takes the stripes off the flag.
no, let's all storms end, right?
Well,
Like, let's end it. Charlotte,
Maybe.
okay, so the storm begins to subside. What are the men gonna do after the storm subsides? Malachi,
Take the flag down, throw up a different flag, and retire that flag.
okay. Okay. Let's see, wind and rain. I need some symbols now. Wind and rain. Does that look like rain? Ceased. I really like the word ceased. Retire. Flag. Okay, and they're gonna raise another one. Okay, now we have got a keyword outline. Aaliyah, go ahead.
Like, does this story have to be like at all?
No, it does not have to be true. So I don't want, when I call this an event description, I don't want you to be confused that it's actually got like to be a thing that you research. It's not. It's just these pictures that help you to imagine the situation, and you're describing what you see. And you're describing, like, you're a news reporter. Okay, you're describing what you see outside of the picture, in the picture, what you know happened before the picture, what you know is happening after the picture.
Like, yeah, like something that, like this.
It does not have to be possible. So it can be, you can write, yeah, you can write it with events that can't happen in real life. That's okay. All right, so let's, guys,
That's actually probably happened.
when you write this story, you are going to include 2 sentence openers and 1 decoration in each paragraph, okay? So after you keyword outline, let's go back to paragraph 1, and I'm going to show you how I would maybe add my sentence openers. Okay, our central fact of paragraph 1 was that this flagpole and flag, they're standing at an army base, it's mounted in an army base, it's a gorgeous morning, it's slightly windy. I'm actually going to add a prepositional sentence opener right here. I would say at the army base, right? Okay, at the army base, it was a gorgeous morning and it was beginning to get windy. Okay, so I actually added a sentence opener and I used a really good adjective, gorgeous, right? And I used beautiful. So that's a couple things. I could add another sentence opener. Let's see. Men marching. Okay. As the men marched toward the flagpole, the chipmunks began to get angry that their nut collecting was being interrupted. So that's our clausal sentence opener. Yeah.
I know.
Okay, what is it?
So marching the men.
Yes, we could use, yep. Yep, that would be the ing. Yeah, marching, the men began to move toward the flagpole. Or angrily chirping, the chipmunks expressed their frustration with the men marching around the flagpole. Something like that. So you get the idea, but you should plan your sentence openers into your keyword outline. We need a decoration. I got, okay. How about this? What if we were to say, hoist the flag, the men shouted. Or the lead, who would say hoist the flag, Malachi, in this group of soldiers?
Probably like either the first sergeant or it's in Marine Corps, it can probably be the first sergeant or the sergeant major.
Okay, hoist the flag, the sergeant major shouted as the men stood in formation. All right, so we've added all our things. Okay, now we're gonna move this along a little bit. I'm going to read you the finished story. And I'm going to tell you that this story, I did not write this story. This is actually an example that was written by an upper elementary student. So I'm going to read you his finished story. I created the keyword outline from it. So every time we move to a new paragraph, I'll change the picture so you guys can see it. At the army base, it was a gorgeous morning and it was beginning to get windy. Peacefully, birds were drifting in the sky while chipmunks busily collected nuts. As the men who were at the base marched out to the flagpole, a chipmunk scolded them because they had interrupted his nut collecting time. The men stood around the flagpole. "Hoist the flag," shouted the sergeant major. Raising the flag, the men did not notice that the lovely morning was beginning to be a very windy one. That's my clincher sentence. Now, just so you guys know, this assignment for this person required that they use every sentence opener in every paragraph. So if you can kind of see right here, all the sentence openers are there. Oh, you know what? I forgot I actually put this on. There we go. After the flag was raised, a terrible wind began to pick up. On the pole, the flag started to shake terribly. Frantically, the birds and chipmunks dashed for their nests and holes. "Storm!" a man shouted. The wind, which had picked up to 50 miles an hour, caused the seams on the flag to rip because the horrendous wind was too much for the flag to bear. Unmercifully, that's a good one right there, the wind and rain battered the flag so harshly that the stars, which were pasted on the cheap flag, came off. In their cozy homes, the birds and chipmunks watched the stars blow away because the wind was so strong. The airplanes in the sky were shaking because of the wind, and so were the airplanes on the ground. The storm started to subside. When the wind and rain ceased, the men at the base found the stars far away and put them back on the battered flag. So it ends a little bit differently than what we planned, right? But I was reading this example that has already been created. So, okay, so take a look at your packet. And before we get started, I'm going to give you guys a chance to keyword outline the first paragraph here today. We are going to go over your assignment guidelines. So let's do that together. I'm going to rig this up so that people watching this later can see this. So give me just a second.